Hi, this is Mark Sobowitz live on a Clarion Voice. Good morning. I hope you're doing well with your lives today, and I hope we can inspire you with our interview today, which happens to be with Pastor Zac Page of the Templeton Hills Seventh Day Adventist Church, and we are glad that you're here, Zach. Thank you so much for joining us today. And just to start off with, tell us a little bit about your background, as far as being here and ministering.
Sure. Yeah. I didn't end up wanting to be a pastor. That wasn't my original dream in life. I was planning to, go off in the business world, become an entrepreneur, and then hopefully have some money later on that I could, do some good in the world for God later on in life. But God used some challenging circumstances in my life to open up the door for me to do a year of youth ministry, actually. And after that year, I just really was excited to see people get to know Jesus. And I thought, maybe I could dabble with this a little bit. I added that to my business major and ended up going with a theology major after a while. And God kept opening the doors. And so here I am today.
Very good. And so you told us earlier that you've been pastoring at the Templeton Church for about 7 years. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. 7.5 years.
Okay. And you originally were in Modesto, right?
Modesto was where I pastored before that. Yeah. For 2 years.
Okay. Okay. Very good. I mean, were you like a lead pastor at that point at that
No, I
church?
was an associate pastor at that
Ah,
church.
okay.
Yeah.
Very good. And your wife's name is Leah, is that correct?
That's right.
And so she's also involved in ministry with you? Is that
Yes, I mean, currently we have identical twins that are 3 years old, and we have a 6.5-month-old, so that keeps her super busy at home.
sure.
But she also has a bachelor's in theology, so ministry is where her heart is at too, and we actually met doing that traveling ministry for youth, back what was that? Probably 15 years ago or something like that.
Okay.
17 years ago, I guess now.
Okay. As a pastor, what is the biggest obstacle that you have?
Good question. I guess for me personally, it's every day knowing what God's will is, taking that time to connect with Him and see the direction that He's leading me personally in ministry, and also where does He want to take our church? How can we best impact our community? How can we make the difference that Jesus wants us to make for people?
And, in light of all the difficulties that we've been dealing with, the pandemic, the economy, and all that sort of thing, how have you dealt with those issues? I mean, as far as helping people, individually and collectively.
You know, maybe it's a little helpful for a backstory for our church. Like when I got here 7.5 years ago, I remember one leader in the church, actually a few leaders in the church, said we'd been challenged as a church. They told me, "What if our church burned down? Would the community even care that we were gone? You know, are we doing more than just ministering to our own needs here as a church?" And so we began praying and saying, God, how can we make sure that we're reflecting Jesus to everybody around us, and that, our neighbors who don't even believe in Jesus, it matters to them that we're here, because just like Jesus would walk through a village and heal everybody in that village, we're also making an impact on everybody around us, whether they come to church or not. And one of the first doors God opened up for us was to do something called we called them the Hope Clinic, which was we provided dental care. So we have like 6 dentists in our church. We opened up our fellowship hall, and we served, I think it was several hundred people that first time. And it's also, we provided vision care for people. We had some um, glasses, prescriptions, and those types of things we were able to get for people. And just turning the church into that model of being there to serve, being there to help. Because I mean, that's not what Jesus said. He said the Son of Man didn't come to be served, but to
But
serve and to give His life as
right.
a ransom for many. So then you get to 2020, and God was opening up another door, which you recently interviewed Matt, and He opened up the door for us to use our property to be a community farm. And that's been a place where people, when everything else was closed down, we were able to invite people to come harvest fruits and veggies on our property, and be able to have that social interaction in a safe place outdoors. That was one way that God just opened up a door for us to help people in the midst of the pandemic.
Okay. Okay. Good. Now you still have the programs in place, the dental and the vision programs at this point, or
You
no?
know, the pandemic kind of put a hold on that. The larger organization we were working with to do that, is still in the process of getting that back in
Okay,
full function, but we are on the list as soon as we're able to start those again. So that's definitely a goal that we have.
okay. And then with the farm, since you bring that up, I know that you're trying to expand your reach into the community by developing, a fellowship with people, that come and things of that nature. And as a pastor, how do you see the farm reaching out into the community?
Yeah, you know, it's been a benefit of just making friends and people being able to see that we've had this property for years, and we had this open ball field that the school wasn't using anymore. We have a kindergarten through 8th grade, um, Christian school as well. But for probably 10 years at least before I got here, it had kinda sat empty, and it was just a gopher field and ground squirrels. And so, you know, we had a group who was praying about what do we do with this property, and we had dreams. You know, somebody at one point had brought these awesome plans for having a community center, and you know, it was a big multi-million dollar facility. But coming up with a funding for that, putting it together was just kind of complex for us, and it never came together. And so as we were praying about it, you know, he said, "Well, we could do anything. We could make an amusement park here. The kids would probably like that, and attract a lot of attention for Jesus that way. But what is God actually calling us to do?" And I think that's what's important for me as a pastor and for every individual Christian every day, just to open our Bible, spend time with Jesus, get to know him, and make sure that we're following his voice for that day. And God began opening doors. Like, he brought Matt's family to our church. He actually came to our church right around, maybe right before around the time that I came. And so he was began coming to our church, and we're praying about this land. And one day I remember we began dreaming about what if this became like a we could do grow stuff here. That would be an easy thing to do on this property. And I remember asking him about it. He was working grounds for us at the time, and he jumped off his tractor. He's like, "You serious?" My wife and I have been praying about this too, and thinking, what if we took our dream of having our own land, making our own farm, and we turned it into something for the church? And so, you know, just seeing how God was like making things converge, um, kind of gives me clarity that that's the direction God is calling us in reaching people. He opened other doors, like we got a grant to start it of like $20,000, and I haven't done farming before, so I thought, well, that's a great idea. I think we could do it for $20,000. And Matt's like pricing it out. He's like, you don't realize like the hoop houses alone are going to cost, you know, one hoop house is going to cost us like $12,000 or something like that just for the metal alone. And I'm
Mhm,
going to have to bend it all, put all the parts together.
mhm.
And not long after that conversation, he goes and he looks on Craigslist, and this lady down in, I think it was Napomo, had listed something that had been sitting in her backyard for 10 years. She listed enough materials for 4 hoop houses worth of what we were looking for one. And that's like, um, I guess it was about $12,000 worth of materials that she had listed, and she listed it for $600. So,
Okay,
you know, God opening doors like that, we just walk through them. But back to your question, I guess that's a long way of answering your question, but all of that, just kinda gave us the picture that the people needed this in our community. God knows the needs of people's hearts more than we do, and so we feel like as we walk through those doors, God's gonna know what people are needing, what they're gonna wanna come to be a part of. And so the farm has become something where we get to make friends and get to introduce people to healthy produce, local produce,
right.
and hopefully through that benefit them, benefit their health, benefit their social interactions, and then hopefully they ask questions, and we're willing to
Okay,
provide whatever else can be beneficial for them.
okay. Have you reached out to any other churches in the area as far as getting support or connecting, so that more people, can come and participate?
You know, we haven't a ton. I meet with the pastors in Templeton on a monthly basis, those who are able to join for the pastors' breakfast, and so they know about it, and they're welcome to join in, and their congregations are welcome to join in. Anybody's welcome to, of course. Um, there's it's been more through, like, church members who've come there who are like, "Hey, could our church has this open field, like, what if I talk to our pastor about maybe getting that going at our church
I
too?" And
see.
Matt's been,
Okay.
saying, "Okay, well, we're happy to help in any way we can to see what we could do to help out." So far, none of that's come to fruition yet, but there's been a few of those types of conversations that have happened.
Okay. Very good. What other plans does the church have as far as reaching out to people and providing a means of support? Whether it be spiritually,
Mhm.
emotionally. Are there any other programs in place or for the future?
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned the Hope Clinics, the farm, but then also health is a big thing that we were wanting to be able to help people with. I think especially after the pandemic, things that we didn't really understand before, like now we realize that if you have certain health issues, it's gonna create a big problem when something like a pandemic comes through, right?
Mhm.
And so now being able to help people with some of those underlying health issues through diet, through health practices, and say, "How do we address some of these things?" Because they might be manageable now, but if something like a pandemic comes through, you wanna make sure that you've taken care of these larger health issues. So health is one thing. We've teamed up with Open Faith Ministries, the one that's doing the homeless outreach in the riverbeds um,
Right.
in Paso Robles and also on the streets in Paso Robles. So we've been working with that group. I go out on Thursday mornings with them, and we've helped them a little bit on Saturday mornings. I've honestly just been learning a lot through what they do and just challenging my church members. We want to be the body of Christ to the least of these and everybody in our community, whoever's in need. So those are a few of the ways.
Okay. Um, what is the most common problem that people come to you with as far as all that we're dealing with? Is there something that is the most common
Good
issue?
question. Good question. I don't know if most common. I think a lot of people are challenged with marriage challenges. That can be a big thing. Um,
Interesting.
Loneliness can be a big thing that I find people are
Okay.
dealing with. Just mental health challenges as far as depression or those are some of the big things. But also in this area, financial burden. We probably get the most calls about financial struggles. Not being able to manage from month to month. Um, Expensive area to live in, and it's
Right.
challenging.
Do you have a sort of like a referral system, so to speak? I mean, if it's beyond your capabilities, then you have a way of referring people to either
Yeah,
psychologists or financial counselors or anything like that.
yeah. There's more like people that I've been in contact with that are really helpful in that area, like Aurora Williams, who you've interviewed before.
Right.
She's a great resource to just run past her. What are some community organizations that can be the most helpful for this? I also have a list that another pastor provided me of helpful counselors in the area and those types of resources, and just helping people find professionals in the community who can really help and minister to them. Definitely important.
Do you find yourself when people come to you with whatever the issue happens to be, um, are you sort of frustrated with not being able to help as much as you would like, or how do you get around that? Because I mean, I don't understand what a pastor does necessarily, although I mean I've been in contact with pastors ever since I've been up here. But how does that affect you as a pastor? When you see these problems,
Yeah, it's discouraging because you want to do so much more. But I just have to believe that Jesus will take our 5 loaves and 2 small fish and multiply it to the needs. You see the compassion that Jesus had, just in that story alone. His disciples are like, "Nah, send them to go buy their own food. Like they can handle it." Jesus says, "Well, what if they faint on the way?" There's like such sympathy, such compassion for what people are going through, what they need. And then the disciples are like, "Well, we don't have enough money to buy all of that." And then one of the disciples finds the little boy and says, "Well, we do have these 5 loaves and 2 fish." And I think as we step up and begin to share whatever we can and I like to just offer to help people and to trust that God's gonna show up somehow to provide that need. Um, it
Okay. You were mentioning that you participate with Hope and Faith
Yeah,
as far as the homeless is concerned.
mhm.
What's your perspective on the homeless issue that we have in this community?
Well, I mean, first of all, what Hope and Faith does is an amazing thing. The first time I went out with them on a Thursday morning, I remember walking up to the first camp, the first tent, and they're like, calling him out by name, saying, "Are you here? Are you here in this tent?" I'm thinking, okay, they know this guy by name, and then um, he opens up his tent, pokes his head out, matted hair, and they're like, "How's the cut on your head?" And they're like parting his matted hair, looking at his cut. He's not really sure how his cut's doing. He's just thankful for the burrito and what they're giving him. But they've got antibiotic ointment with them, and they're caring for somebody that not even capable of caring for himself fully, let alone that nobody else really knows what he's going through or cares what he's going through. So that's really been moving to me that we're called. I mean, that's Jesus said, "When you've done it to the least, you've done it to me." So that this is Jesus is there. So through that, I guess I've just learned how much opportunity there is to really be there for people that are in need. Jesus said, "I didn't come to help those who are well; I came to help those who are sick." And these are some of the people who have the greatest need in our community. And I think they need to know that they are humans. That we don't just walk past them, we throw something to them, but that we sit down and talk with them, we get to know them, we take time and invest in them. But if you want to solve, if you want an answer for how to solve the homelessness issue, I don't really have that, obviously, or that
That's
would
a
be an incredible
difficult
thing. Yeah,
that's a difficult proposition, because people have been trying to resolve that
yeah,
for many years, and there's so many layers to it that you can't really, identify one way to do it. I mean, supporting the people, whatever, however they got into that situation. Because I know that I interviewed gentleman Bob Short, who is also involved with
yeah.
through his church, and he was
Hmm.
telling me that the mental health issue
Hmm.
is the most important aspect of it,
Hmm.
because you have to deal with the mental health of the people that you're dealing with, not just the material issues, as far as not having a home and that sort of thing, but it's
Yeah,
how they're existing,
uh,
mentally speaking, and providing support in that respect.
yeah, and that's really beyond what we're able to solve. But being there for a person and letting them know they're cared for and loved, I mean, that's how God solves a lot of our mental health issues at
There you go.
whatever level we're at.
I always ask this question of people when I interview them, so you're not going to be any different. Where do you see yourself in a year?
Fantastic question. Hopefully, just walking more closely with Jesus, and through that, being able to love people in need around me in a deeper way. I don't know exactly what that looks like.
Okay.
I want to follow wherever He leads.
Do you plan on advancing your education at all as far as a pastor is concerned, or are you just going to
You know,
see where God leads you?
at the moment with 3 kids and the busyness, I don't plan to get another official degree at the moment. I mean, maybe later on after the kids are older. But right now, just reading on my own and enriching myself that way, and maybe taking some classes on a personal level, but not like pursuing like my doctorate at the moment.
Okay. There's a camera directly opposite you. For people that are watching, share your heart with them.
Well, I guess first of all, those who are in need, just know that there's a savior who cares so much about every detail of your life, whatever you're going through, whatever you're facing. He knows it all. He feels it all. Paul said, you, in him, you live and move and breathe and have your being. And for those of us who follow Jesus, we've got to be there as his hands and feet for those who are in need around us. There's a hurting world out there. It's more than just going to church and singing some songs. Your neighbor, your person that you drive past on the corner, all those people, they need to take take the time to let them know that they matter to Jesus.
Okay. If someone wanted to reach out to you and talk to you more, how would they go about doing that? Is it through your
Yeah, you
face?
could go to our website, or you can I can give my cell phone number if that's helpful. My cell phone number is 661-742-8105. Anybody's welcome to call or text me, or you can go to our website, templetonhills.adventistfaith.org. We hope to get a simpler website soon, or you can look me up on Facebook.
Okay. Okay. Very good. The Templeton Hills Community Farm, by the way, for those of you who don't know, is usually open Sundays from 9 until 2. And most often you'll see Zach there. And Matt Geesey, who's the manager there. So we certainly welcome you to do that. And you have services on Saturday. Is that correct?
Yeah, every
Eh,
Saturday morning. We have an early service that's kinda small group format. It started during the pandemic with those who are more comfortable being outdoors, so it's still outdoors, but it's turned into more like a handful of people, but that's at 8:15, and then our regular service indoors is at 11.
Okay, very good. It's been a pleasure, Zach, to interview you today. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And if you need further information as far as getting in contact with Zach, then please contact us at aclarionvoice.com, and we will be glad to help you out in that regard. And we certainly hope that you have an excellent week. And this is Mark Sobowitz with the Clarion Voice from the Hub Studios.